So we are starting shortly. Just a few minutes. Just wanted to confirm. Okay, Tuliatunga. Well, so the rest of the team, just also introduce yourself in the chat box so we can kick start. Just want to confirm that I'm with the right people. Okay, Judith, we're glad to have you, Judith Floyd. Bilali Busi, most welcome. So the rest, let's continue the introduction in the Judith, we're glad to have you, Judith Floyd. Bilali Busi, most welcome. So the rest, let's continue the introduction in the Judith, we're glad to have you, Judith Floyd. Bilali Busi, most welcome. So the rest, let's continue the introduction in the Judith, we're glad to have you, Judith Floyd. Bilali Busi, most welcome. So the rest, okay, let's continue the introduction in the most welcome. As well. Let's have more introductions coming through. Most welcome. Your name, the organization you're working for. So the rest, okay, Herbert. I think let's just do the name and organization we are working for. I think that's enough. As well. Let's have more introductions coming through. Most welcome.
Kati yao atandise nyongeze volume.
Once again, if you're getting any challenges with your internet, just make sure you inform me so I can be able to see how I can support. So just make sure that you can hear me, then I'll be able to start. Just about 6 minutes past 7, and I'm just going to start just 4 minutes since today is our first day. But for the rest of the day, I encourage you to join in exactly at 7 so we can be able to cover substantially, because there's a lot to learn in these sessions.
Kuli mu kirasi.
We are starting just shortly. I'm just trying to help some people here connect. Some people are having some challenges.
Kama nyambe mbenga ntusomero kunzigwako. Mugamba agira nkyanjigira ku gundi ku laptop ye ngenda kujja ngikozesa. Essimu. Njagala mugamba agira charging laptop ye. Sorry. Nakuwayo.
So we're starting in 1 minute. In case you're not yet settled, just make sure you're settled.
Kyembadde nsaba ogira ocharginga ku laptop yo bwe nzija nkolekitinge kubanga omuliro gwange gulabika guggwako. Ogira ocharginga ku laptop yo. Ogira ocharginga ku laptop wangi. Kale ogira osetingire.
Can everyone see my screen? Just to confirm that everyone sees my screen.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for joining into this training. I once again want to thank you so much for taking in the opportunity to come and learn. Of course, it's not easy for somebody to commit both resources and money to come and learn something like this that is new. But I want to say thank you so much for accepting to come and join in. Basically, from what I shared in your emails, but then I also shared this in the course kind of course outline that I just shared with you on your phones. You must have seen this. So there are lots of things that we are going to study today, and I would encourage you, if you have a notebook, please just get your notebook and also get a pen, because there are several things that you need to note down. I also indicated, in case you have any challenge, especially when it comes to maybe internet, just make sure that you indicate what exactly we can help you with. So basically, we are going to study about the NGO grants and financial management. That's basically our kind of discussion for the rest of the days. And like I indicated, there's a lot to learn in this session. So, and then also we are going to use the chat box very much. Somebody says, I have not received any document on my phone. Okay, I will share with you this document. Don't worry about that. So we have a breakdown of what we shall be studying. We have the grants management life cycle, which shall be our first one to study today. We have compliance with donor requirements. We have how to build donor relationships and contribute to future grant awards. We have internal controls and best financial management practices in grants management. We also have donor budgets, preparation and management, and then we also have post-award startup, as well as operation, and then close out. So we start In case you have any challenge, please just drop it in the chat box. So why this session? Why this training? You might have joined the training because of different interests. Maybe you are already working in the NGO world, or you work in the private sector. We have introductions in the chat box. If you just joined in and not introduce yourself, just love to know your name and where you're working. And the reason why we're doing this process is because most of you are joining in using different gadgets that have different names. So we'd love to know who exactly you are in the chat box. So NGO grants and financial management. Your trainer, I would just love to give a small introduction of myself. My name is Samuel Ibanda, and I'm a certified public accountant, but I also I'm an NGO financial management and grants management specialist. This is something that I've done for now a very good time, and I believe I have a lot of knowledge, and that's why we organize this training to basically share with you this kind of knowledge, and who knows, it can be able to help you. So you don't have to worry much if you're not working for an NGO already, because myself, I want to say that I started my career when I entered the NGO world. It was after some time that I've been in the private sector, but then I wanted to try out and see how I could find my way into the NGO world. So knowledge like this, the one you're attending today, is what helped me to create a way for me to join into the NGO world. So you also know just the information I shared in your emails, that attached document, is just to basically for you to get an insight of how the NGO financial management runs, so that you can get some time and just go through. But our concentration should be mainly on what we are going to study, mainly. So when somebody says grant, says NGO, I know something comes to your mind. NGO is non-government organization. These are very common, and you find them all over the country. We have both international and local NGOs. So back to my introduction. Basically, I work as a finance lead, partnership finance lead at Save the Children International, and this is one of the leading global NGOs. Before that, I was working as a finance manager in the same organization, but then I also worked as an accountant, still in the same organization. So I want to say that my career has been very fast running, because I've been able to grasp some of these things very, very fast. And the knowledge that I'm going to share with you is the knowledge that I really have gotten throughout my journey to where I am today. So I also want to say that, like I indicated, you don't need to have an NGO background for this training to be important to you. So there's a lot for us to learn. So since today is the first lesson, I want us to concentrate about the grants management cycle, and we shall continue through as we understand and learn much. So just also to note, I will share these slides with you, so you may not have to struggle very much. So I want to start with just a small teaser here of us to think together. So imagine you have a goal to construct a borehole for your community, but you don't have the resources to do it. What do you do? I repeat, imagine you have a goal to construct a borehole for your community, but you don't have the resources to do it. What would you do? Can I just have one or two responses in the chat box if you're following? Watua, you're most welcome. So imagine you have a goal to construct a borehole for your community, but you do not have resources to do it. What would you do? I just want two responses in the chat box. Any quick students? David says fundraising. Can we get any other person? Can we get another person to respond? Solicit funds. I would mobile resources by fundraising. Okay, that is very good. Thank you for the responses. To mobilize the resources. Yes, you do mobilize the resources. And through those resources is where we are now seeing the aspect of grants coming in. Now, as you mobilize resources, you'll find you get to realize that there are people who give you some of these resources, and they'll come in different categories, even as we shall continue to learn and understand. So constructing a borehole is one of the community activities that an NGO can do. We've seen several of them. Some of them are healthy oriented, like TASO Uganda. Some of them are focused on children, like Save the Children that I work for. Some of them are focused on two totally different things. So it's very, very critical that you understand this in and out. Like I said, make sure that you're not something as we continue. So now that we have we have an idea of what these NGOs usually do, because the starting point is, of course, to source for the funds. An NGO, for it to do all its activities, it requires to have funds. So we want to understand how do NGOs actually get these funds. So we have to appreciate that all these non-profit entities have a very wide range of funds. Some people think that these people only get these funds from, let's say, only donations. But one of the things that we want to say is that these NGOs or non-for-profit get money from different sources. And there's one new term that you want to learn today is the aspect of awards. Now, the correct word description for non-profit funding is awards and not grants. Take it from today. I think you've seen some jobs. I don't know if some of you are search for jobs and you see somebody called an awards manager or an awards coordinator. Now, the word awards itself is the general word to mean the sources of funding for the NGOs. So not grants. So that's why some organizations have now adopted the word awards rather than grants. For example, the organization I work for, you find that they don't call it, we don't call them grants, we call them awards. Because when you call grant, it means you've restricted yourself to just a specific aspect of funding with non-for-profit. So just for us to understand is that a grant is one of course, we've said is one of those sources of funding. So it's part under awards. And it can, of course, others can be, for example, we can have framework agreements with donors. We're going to see those. By framework agreement, I mean they're just specifically signed agreements for a specific period of time with a given amount of money for specific key deliverables. So that is very important for us to understand. You can also have, of course, funding through contracts. This could be contracts. You can even sign contracts with corporate entities. We've seen, for example, MTN Uganda do a marathon, and we see it collects a lot of money to be able to fund certain kind of activities, community activities. We can also have gifts in kind donations, where somebody says, okay, for me, I may not have money, but I have clothes that I can be able to give to this initiative that the organization is having. So we have several of them for you to note that NGOs have different sources of funding. So if your financial accountant who is working for an NGO or you're aspiring to join an NGO, it's very important for you to know some of these. Somebody says I have a network problem and it's on and off. Okay, just allow me to help this person. Now we have an alternative place where we platform that you can be able to access this. Just a moment. I just share this link in the comment section. In case you get any challenges, then you can just go to this group, and then I will allow you in that group. Then you'll be able to access all this in the same way. So I'm going to share, just a moment, everyone. Okay, so there's a group I've shared. It's a Facebook group where we are streaming live. Don't add any of your friends to the group. It's basically for learning purposes. So in case you get any challenges of network, you should be able to access that group. Then I'll allow you, just click enter, then I'll allow you to be able to join in. So back to our business today. So we are saying that it's important to note that if organizations receive various sources of funding, it's key to create a system that supports all of them. And friends, this is very true. You will find an NGO with nearly most of these sources of funding. And reason being is because donors have different ways of giving money, and we cannot stop anyone from actually doing what from asking for to give us some of these funds. So it's very critical that you understand. So your takeaway here is the new word is awards. If you didn't know about this, and make sure that you understand what it basically means. So we move. So grants management. What is a grant? I think that could be one of the questions that you might have in your mind to ask yourself. What is a grant? When somebody says a grant, I think most of us that are on this call might have done either financial accounting, or you've done CPA, or you've done an accounting degree, or you've done accounting at one point in time. Or you may not have done it, and you might have had this word called grant from someone or the other. So today we want to understand that a grant is a non-refundable fund given by one party to another for a specific purpose. You get it? So we have one person giving another person for a specific purpose. And we've seen this is very common when it comes to government grants. Usually government give you a given grant for a specific purpose. I think we've seen the youth livelihood, where government sources out for different groups, youth groups, and gives them funds. Now, the knowledge you're gaining here is not only applicable to NGOs, but most of this knowledge can also be applicable to the public sector. Why? Because government also continuously receives grants from different organizations, both in and out of the country. So once you understand grants management, it's of you understanding the whole process. So grants management is the process through which an organization manages the pursuit, the receipt and utilization of the donations that have been received to achieve the agreed objectives. One of the things that we've continually seen, especially in our country, Uganda, is that there are many cases where we have poor grants management. I think if you have some good years, you might have heard about the Global Fund that was misappropriated. We've had many misappropriation of funds. One reasons why is because people don't really understand the objectives of grants management, of good grants management. And of course, the other could be selfish interests. Of course, when you're working in an NGO, it's presumed that you're working for the community, you're working for the right purpose. So for us to note, we have to understand that grants can be both cash and non-cash donations, like I earlier indicated as we started. It's also good to understand that grants can either be restricted or unrestricted. Take that note very well. Grants can either be restricted or unrestricted. There are organizations that are out there that will give you money and they will not have any restrictions. By any restriction means you can use that grant for several kinds of things as you wish, because they are not restricted. Any grant that is restricted means it should be for a specific purpose. If you've gotten a grant to support your health programs in a given location A, it means that should actually happen like that. So just a moment, I just accept this person on the Facebook group. So those that have not introduced themselves, just make sure that you introduce yourself there. Okay, so I've accepted that one. Okay, so basically you can have restricted and unrestricted. So you need to know each time you're working on a grant, or you're applying to maybe join an organization, you need to interest yourself into some of these grants and understands, because they can also ask you in the interview, do you know about unrestricted grants and restricted grants? So these have to be in your mind. The non-cash donations, like I indicated, this could be gifts in kind. It could be shares, somewhere that you've seen people giving computers, people giving masks, people giving, like, for example, the non-cash items that we saw being given to government during the times of COVID were mainly non-cash items. Somebody comes and donates food. So very critical. All those are a kind of donations. And we saw a lot of accountabilities from the respective COVID task force trying to account for the funds that were given. So all that we are doing is basically grants management. So what is our grants management cycle? So we can see the screen. We have first step, the planning. And here by planning, we mean what do you exactly want to do? Because before even the funds can find you, you have to be able to have a plan on the ground. For example, I would say maybe I want to skill street children that are between maybe the age of 12 to the age of 18. So that is my plan. So I'll draw a plan of how I'll achieve it. I'll draw the plan of what exactly I need. I'll draw a plan of whatever detail that any donor might be interested in. So the grants management cycle. So once I have drawn that plan and that document needs so, then my mind now goes to securing the funds. Because for me to achieve the plan, then I have to make sure I have the funds. So that is very critical. And then, of course, the other is the aspect of now managing the funds, which now brings in the aspect of the financial management, which is part of our training. So sometimes we forget, somebody can ask, what is the grants management cycle? People sometimes think that the grants management cycle starts from after receiving the funds. It starts from the start, because you've set key priorities that you're going to achieve, and you've secured funds for those key priorities. And then you have one now to make sure that you manage the funds to make sure that they are within the requirements of the donor. So we have the aspect of planning. By planning, we have an aspect of prepare, which is our first step under planning. So under planning, basically our focus is on planning analysis, trying to understand, yes, we have this idea, we want to skill youth, street children between the ages of 15 and 18. In terms of what we expect to do, maybe we expect to set up a skills center, buy sewing machines, buy laptops, maybe recruit trainers. We need to understand how much each of whatever we are going to do costs. It's very, very key for us to look into that. Now, when it comes to the strategic plan analysis, like I indicated, you'll find that an organization, and it's very common with most NGOs, you'll find that they are not doing only one activity, or they are not doing only a single project. Just a moment, sorry. They're not doing just a single project. They are doing several kind of projects. So the strategic plan analysis is also just to understand whatever you're going to do, how does it link to your overall objective? If you're an organization that is, for example, the one I work for that was started to support aspects of children, is the skilling that you're going to do, does it link into that aspect? Is it in line with your strategic plan? I think you've heard about the word strategic plan from different, maybe from the business side, but also from the aspect of NGOs, we also have what we call the strategic plans. They are very, very key. So whatever you're going to do should be in line with your strategic plan. Don't be just excited about the money. You should make sure that this is within your strategic plan. Now, once you've looked at your strategic plan, now you go ahead to understand your possible donors who can be able to fund. Now, all this information, you might be there and wondering as an accountant or as a finance person, why do I need this information? One of the things that you need to realize is that you need to understand the business from where it starts. Like, you need to understand where the money comes from if you to be a very successful accountant. And also for you to also be able to position yourself even for growth. I want to tell you that if you're just a person who wants to start from the monies and the bank and want to manage it from there, then at the end of the day, you miss out on certain key aspects. But when you know where this money is coming from, even when you doing the financial management on a day-to-day basis, it is within your mind. One of the things that we need to realize is that for you to for any grant to be successfully managed, it means that it can have potential to actually attract future grants. So if you don't know where the grants are coming from, it means that you're likely to actually misappropriate the funds and maybe use them for the wrong purposes. Like I indicated, we have both restricted and unrestricted. So you need to understand where all this is coming from. So you look towards your possible donors. Who can fund you? Who is willing? How would you get some of these donors? Now, if you are working with an NGO or you're planning to start one, these are some of the questions that you need to ask yourself, especially when you have certain kind of impact that you want to create in society. Now, we have several donors, like I indicated. We have government donors, we have corporate donors. I think I gave examples of MTN, Centenary Bank. We have several of them in Uganda. We also have, of course, we have institutional donors. For example, you said UK Aid, says or DFID. We have NORAD. All these are different donors. And that's why you see, even when you seeing some of these job adverts, they'll ask you previous experience with working with some of these donors, because there are some donors that have become very key at giving funds. So we need to be able to acquaint ourselves with some of these, even as we continue through the course. So after we've done the preparation, then other is to do with the opportunity identification and vetting. Now, once you've looked out for the donor, you now go ahead, of course, to make the application to some of these donors. And as you make the applications, definitely, one of the things that you need to understand is you get some of these responses coming through for some of these donors. And you have to do what we call opportunity identification and vetting. So you have to review the opportunity. By the opportunity, we mean, for example, I think you can, when you look at some of the newspapers, I think often they advertise some institutional donors, like you said, or UK usually advertise for some of these grants. So they also give what exactly they are looking out for, and then potential NGOs go ahead to apply. But then we are saying, before you apply, just like the way you apply for any job, you have to vet and understand, and then review to understand if this is in line with the way you run as an organization. I think we've had this in the corridors, that there are some grants that are given by people who have different agendas, like people who want maybe to promote maybe the homosexuals in the country, who are trying to bring in different, even human trafficking, or even when it comes to terrorism. So there are different organizations that you find that want to give you the money, but they have those aspects. And that's where the aspect of risk assessment also comes in. You don't want to go for any donation. And that's why one of the things that you also need to understand, even as you enter into the NGO world or you practice it, you need to understand that NGOs don't accept any funding, because funding comes with a restriction. Like we indicated, the grants, they are coming with specific conditions and also for a specific purpose. So not every grant will actually be undertaken. So it's very, very important. So Before I can proceed, I know I don't see anything in the chat box. I just want to understand what are we following? Maybe can I just hear from about 2 or 3 people? Sylvia had an issue with network. I don't know if she's accessing it right now. So let me just get about 2 or 3 people. Tell me what they can remember so far from what we just talked about. Okay, Francis says it's following. I would just love to know, just help me type what exactly have you been able to get just in what we just talked about. Okay, restricted grants and unrestricted. Wonderful. The word NGO fund is a word, not grants. Grant is a section of. Okay, brilliant. I think we're at the planning stage. I'm following now, but the network is my network is now okay. Sylvia, good to hear that your network is very fine. I said those that have challenges with network, we have an alternative group where this is being streamed, so you can just go to that Facebook group. Maybe your network can easily access Facebook than Zoom. So we proceed to now from the planning stage, we now come to the securing the funds. It's very critical that you understand some of these steps. Like I indicated, you need to understand the business. Where do these things come from? Where does this money come from? For you to be able to become a good business partner to the organization. Like good business partner, I mean somebody who is beyond your figures. And then also one of the things that you need to understand as somebody who is attending these courses, you're not only attending this course for employment. You are attending this course because you want to gain expertise and you don't know where this kind of expertise can help you. Some of you may be people who are going to start NGOs in the future. Some of you may be people who are going to set up consultancies, and this information could be very vital for you, even as you advise, because there are many NGOs that are coming up every day, local and international, and some of them may not be willing to bring in maybe full-time staff. We all know about the remote working that is coming in every day. So you want to position yourself to understand these aspects, so you better position. So we have the aspect of securing the funds. So we have the first step is the proposals. Now, just like the way we have your application to a job. Here, once you've gone through the opportunity, reviewed it very well, you now submit your proposal. And in this proposal, in the same way you the same way you give it, you have to take into consideration the aspect of the risk assessment. By risk assessment, you also want to inform the donor that their funds are also in the right hands. So it means that every risk has been covered. Many organizations want to make sure that they're not giving you their funds, and maybe these funds will be misappropriated, because we know very well that people are good at having that kind of aspiration of getting the funds, but once the funds have been given to you, how is the donor assured that you can actually get they can get the results for their funds? So the risk assessment is very key, and as you include this in your proposal, it's also a competitive edge, because the donors are, even they are weighing which NGO to give which funds. I want to say that these funds are competed for, like the way you compete for the jobs. You see organizations, UNHCR, IRC, Save the Children, all these will apply for a certain grant. And that's why you see some of these grants are advertised in newspapers openly for organizations to submit. So any organization that submits a proposal that speaks to the donor's mind is an organization that definitely be taken up. So it's very, very vital. So we have the proposal document, which is usually the narrative. By narrative, I mean it basically has the write-up. Like, for example, our example today of us skilling youths between the age of 15 to the age of 18, your proposal should indicate exactly what are you going to do, what resources will you need. If you're going to hire staff, which kind of staff will you need? Which items do you plan to buy? And how do you plan to deliver the service or to achieve the activity? Or what do you exactly planning to look at as your kind of result? What result would you want to look at the end of the day and say we've actually been able to accomplish this aspect? So it's very, very key. So just next to the proposal is the budget development. Now, the proposal itself is these are narrations, but remember you're applying for funds. So because you're applying for funds, this proposal has to be translated into figures, into the budget. So we are going to understand how the budget looks like as we proceed. So it's very critical for you to understand how all these play. You get it? Very important. Then we come to the aspect of inception. Now, once we've submitted our proposal and the budget, and as well as also we've submitted the risk assessment to the donor, then if the donor selects us as the best NGO to give this grant, then we'll have what we call the grant agreement. We'll have what we call the grant agreement. Grant agreement is between the NGO and the donor that is giving the grant. So it's very, very critical. So we understand this. So we have the agreement. And the reason why it is important to have the agreement is because you want to know you want to agree what does the donor expect from you, and what do you also expect from the donor. I'll give you an example. There are some donors that will expect you to implement a given amount of money, but when it comes to disbursement of funds, they are disbursing these funds maybe 4 months late. So it's very critical for you to be able to understand that, okay, I will actually need these funds. The donor will also agree that also disperse these funds. This same donor will also go ahead to tell you things to do with the assets. They will tell you that for me, when you're buying assets, for example, you'll find like you say that what they say when you're buying assets, these countries you can't buy from them these assets, and the donor is very, very key. The donor will also tell you that an asset of this given match, you have to ask for approval, prior approval. They can also tell you that maybe assets under this amount, you can go ahead to purchase them even without our approval. They also give you different conditions when it comes to those that are in construction. They also give you conditions. Under the agreement, they also tell you about how often are you going to be able to report. By report, give accountability of the funds. By reporting, we mean there are two reports that are usually common in grants management. We have what we call the financial report, and we have the donor financial report and the donor narrative report. So it's very, very important. Friends, I hope you're noting down some of these things because they are very, very key for you to understand. So very, very key. So we shall understand all that. So the agreement is basically it's like a contract, basically. So everything has to be highlighted there. And as an accountant, even as you join an NGO or already in the NGO world, every time you're running a grant, your mind should be on the grant agreement. Every decision, in case there is any cost that they want to spend on the organization, your mind should be on the grant agreement. What does the grant agreement say? One of the things that you'll understand is that there are donors that will give you money today, a lot of money, maybe 400 million or 1 billion shilling, or even 5 billion or 10 billion. And they'll give you instruction on what to spend and not what to spend. So if for you, you go ahead and say, okay, because I saw this street child maybe in this district, Wakiso, and they had challenges with maybe school fees. So we picked part of the money, actually give them this money to be able to survive. Some donors will not want to listen to such. If they have given you money to construct boreholes, then they expect you to use the money to construct boreholes, not construct schools. You understand? It's very, very important. And that's why the grants agreement is very, very key on all throughout your journey, as you make sure that you're managing grants for the organization. And then after we have the grant agreement signed, now we go into the project inception meetings. Now, these are very key, project inception meetings. And under project inception meetings, basically, we have different parties that should be involved in these inception meetings. And these inception meetings are usually internal within the organization. Basically, you're bringing the finance, you're bringing the procurement, you're bringing the program people. By program in NGO, we mean those people that actually do the implementation. Some people call them the project officers. So those are very, very key at your point in time when you are doing your project inception meeting. And basically why you want these meetings is because you want to highlight some of these things. You want to make sure that they are aware of how the grant will run, what the content of the grant agreement is, what exactly they should take note, and you should also be able to give responsibilities to the respective parties. So everything, all this is just to make sure that everything is very clear, because you don't want to go wrong. So now, after we've looked at the different steps, so we have planning, securing the funds, what we are looking at. We are now going to try to understand in depth the aspect of proposal development. Proposal development, like proposal development, how do you draw up that document that is to ask for money from the donors? You get it? So we are going to understand this even if we go ahead. So some of the key components of our proposal. One, we have the aspect of the logistical or results framework. Now I'll be sharing with you how this looks like. But just so you know that the logistical or results framework is basically looking at what do you want to achieve and what are some of your inputs. You're looking at basically your output and your inputs. You get it? So it's just, it's usually a pictorial representation of what exactly you're looking at in terms of your proposal. And then when it comes to problem analysis, what is the problem? For example, I talked of want to scale youths between the age of 15 and the age of 20. So what is the problem? Why exactly, why do we want to scale them? That should be your question. So you have to analyze, you have to give an analysis of the problem. Here, remember, we're drawing up our proposal document. So you have to go ahead to give a problem analysis, and maybe you're indicating that, okay, we have even when you're doing the problem analysis, it's also good for you to have the numbers in terms of statistics. You say we are operating in Kampala, maybe central business, and for the past year we've had maybe over 1,000 unemployed youth, street children that have continuously been involved in crime events. You get it? And as an NGO, we are looking forward to skilling these youths to be able to do what? To solve the kind of unemployment that these youths are actually having. So you have to bring out the problem that you think will be able to attract the donor who is yet to give you the funds. So very, very key for you to understand. And then, of course, we also have the description and approach of the activity. So after you've given us the problem analysis, what exactly you're going to you want to solve. What are you exactly now going to do? Description of approach and activities. For example, I'll tell you that it could be an NGO that is coming up and saying we have lots of border accidents in Uganda, and this NGO is actually going to provide elements for free to different border people. And so, how are you going to give your description in terms of approach? You have to give an impression to the donor that exactly what you're going to do will be actually give you the results. I'll give you an example. You can find today somebody can come with totally the same concept that is actually around and give it a different approach and be able to attract funds. For example, we've seen with borders. For example, you see Safe Border came. Safe Border may not be, it's not an NGO, but we know it's a social enterprise on the other side, which also receives grants from different organizations. So somebody will say, already we have an organization that has tried out to give out some of these borders, to give out these elements. But at the end of the day, the border people actually don't use these elements, and even the passengers are not using the elements, maybe based on due to the COVID outbreak. So they are in fear. So what are you exactly now going to do? Are you going to sell these elements to these borders? Are you going to give them a kind of funding option where they're able to get these elements at a given discounted amount? Are you going to maybe put them into groups that they can get these elements from groups? So you should have a description of your approach. The same thing with education. Maybe you want an NGO that is in education and you want to improve literacy levels in schools, especially public schools, where you think everyone who goes through the schools, such schools doesn't have to come out maybe with good understanding of the simple aspects of literacy and maybe numeracy. So yours could be maybe you're going to work with schools, you're going to train teachers to be able to understand how to train some of these students, or you're going to provide textbooks to some of these schools. So it's very, very key for you to highlight all these, even as you're doing your description. And then we come to your implementation plan. How are you going to plan your activities? For example, in your proposal, let's say the opportunity is 5 years. So what is your implementation plan? In year 1, what are you exactly going to do? In year 2, what are you exactly going to do? And what are you going to do first and do next and do the other? You understand? For example, if you're improving numeracy and literacy in school, are you going to first train teachers, or you're going to first give them books? Or you're going to let's say maybe you could maybe you're going to do TV, maybe TV sessions. Maybe you're going to maybe subscribe like to any TV and hold a program there that teaches teachers on how to improve numeracy and literacy. So different approach, but also now your implementation plan is very, very key. The donor wants to basically understand what exactly are you going to do. Because one of the things that we have to know is that some of these donors are really are far away from Uganda, or are far away from the countries that we work in. And this proposal will give them the confidence that even if we give this organization these billions of money, this organization can actually give us the results. For example, I've worked on one of the grants by Melinda and Gates Foundation, where they were sponsoring a given healthy program in one of in Wakiso and Mukono, where they were helping reduce on maternal death rates. I think previously we used to hear many children dying when they are very early. So we're working on a proposal like this, and in the proposal document, we were able to indicate what exactly we're going to do. We're going to implement maybe a training for health workers. We're going to go ahead to to give certain equipment to some of these hospitals. We're going to also train mothers, because we know that the death rate of children is not only from the hospital, but also from the mothers, the way they take care of their pregnancy. So all that is embedded in there. So some of these things, as a finance person, you may not really have a lot of knowledge for them, because when you're doing a proposal development, there are different parties that are embedded within there. But for you, yours is to understand all this, because when it comes to the budget, as you support the budget development as a finance person, you have to make sure that you understand what exactly the organization is going to do. Very important. So then you go to description of organization capacity to implement. By description of organization capacity to implement, here you're trying to share with the donor what is your capacity in terms of what is your staffing. What key staff do you have? You could have maybe a project manager that has over 15 years experience in implementing similar projects. That is part of your capacity. You could be maybe having an office space all over the country, maybe in different regions. That is the capacity. So the donor knows that, okay, we are not giving you money to go and start, but you already have certain capacity. Maybe you have a fleet of vehicles that can be able to support the process. In most cases, these donors want to find you somewhere. And that's why the organization capacity is very key. You could indicate you have a certified public accountant like you on the team who is well acquainted with aspects of grants management. You get it? So organization capacity, also telling the other person that all that I want to do, my implementation plan, as you can see it, I have what it takes. Very key. And then we have the aspect of partner information and their roles if applicable. Now, you'll find that there are some grants that you cannot perform you as an organization as a whole. And so you need what we call partners. So we are going to understand more about partners even as we proceed. Partners are usually other organizations that you share with these funds to implement so as to attain a similar objective. But in the face of the donor, you are you. Reason why it is good for you to indicate partners information in this proposal is sometimes you don't have given capacity. For example, if at all we were trying to apply for a grant that is in line of health, maybe we are trying to reduce onto maybe deaths of young people living with HIV and AIDS. So if we've not done any kind of implementation in this line, we might say that instead of us maybe hiring different staff in this line, we can partner with TASO. So TASO can be brought on board, and for us we do maybe we do the sensitization, and maybe TASO now does the implementation. So very key. And that's why you see some adverts will even ask you if you've worked with partners. So when somebody's speaking about partners in grants management, they're speaking about those organizations that implement together for a common good. So, for example, I'll tell you that the organization I work for, and that's why from the word partner, that's where my title comes from, partner finance lead. I basically I oversee the partnership portfolio of the organization I work with, because we have over 43 partner organizations that we are working with. So sometimes you may not get money direct from the donor, but you can get this money direct from the partner. And some organizations or some donors will give you funds with the condition that you're going to implement this money with a local partner. Most of these partner organizations could be local organizations or could be international. Why local organization is because these donors assume that all these international NGOs that are here at one point in time, maybe they will go. So they believe that once they go there, they will have built the capacity of the local NGOs. So it's very important that you include any partner information, because it will also give you it will give your proposal more weight, because you're giving them information that even if I don't have experience in this area, I actually have this partner who is very, very key in implementation. For example, I'll tell you, we're doing a project on youth livelihood, and we brought in this organization called Akabox. I think some of you might have seen this guy of Akabox. He was featured on Airtel Hustles. This gentleman basically does those small saving boxes, and he makes print on them. They look attractive, and they are usually for children and youth. So we partnered with him because we are looking at youth livelihood, and we are going to give out money to some of these youths, but also wanted to embed in the aspect of saving. So him coming in as a partner was very key, because he was already doing this. So we did not need to set up again an operation that was to make some of these saving boxes for the youths. So it's very key. So we understand that. And then the aspect of monitoring and evaluation information. Now, there is you going ahead to put money on the ground, but not get the results. For example, I'll tell you that if you look at maybe all the grants that were given during COVID, we may not be sure if these grants were actually used for the right purpose. The same thing with grants that we received as a country and different NGOs have received. Sometimes you do the implementation, but the results themselves, you cannot see them. I'll give you an example. I used to work in Karamoja, and for the past several years, we've had several NGOs in this area doing the same thing, but when you get to the place, you may think that no one has actually been to the area. And one of the things that focus is education. So they are trying to educate the society in such an area. But then you get to realize that even with the amount of money that they put, the schools they have built, some of the schools even don't have anyone studying them. We also have teachers who have been trained, and these teachers wake up in the morning, go and take booze, and don't even focus on teaching. So monitoring and evaluation is very key to every donor, because they want to know if after you've done the implementation, for example, we want to skill our youths between the age of 15 and 18. What exactly are you going to do to ensure that all that you're doing is actually achieved? And also to do the monitoring to make sure that the youths that are being trained are actually going ahead to use the skills that they have learned, to make sure that the schools that you've constructed are actually being put right to use. You might find that you're going to construct a school, and that school in one year it will turn into a chicken building where somebody will rear from their chicken. So it's very key that you also highlight the aspect of monitoring and evaluation, and that's why in NGOs we have what we call the monitoring and evaluation officers, or they call them M&E officers, and this is a field that people have also gone ahead to specialize in and understand more. So it's very, very key, and it also makes your proposal to be of weight before the donor, because the donor knows that once we give you our money, it does not only end on you implementing, on giving us the receipt to show that, okay, there was a training in this area and it actually happened and we spent over, let's say, 10 million. We want to know what next after the 10 million. What kind of things are you going to do in terms of monitoring and evaluation? So that is very key. And also when it comes to monitoring and evaluation, even as we understand more, you understand that originally organizations, as you give your statistics, for example, you say we have over 1,000 unemployed youth in the main central business of Kampala. The donor wants to know that at the end of the day, once they do an evaluation, end of year or end of grant evaluation or end of our evaluation, they should be able to have transformation from their 1,000. We now have a reduction by 50%. So that is very key when it comes to you drawing up your proposal. Very key. And then lastly, the budget. So yes, you've told us about the description of the activities. You've told us about the implementation plan. You've told us about your organization capacity. You've told us about your partners. So how does this feed into figures? How much shall be needed for implementing each of the activities? Your organization capacity, you said you have that staff who has over 15 years experience. What is their salary? That should be able to be depicted in the budget. So if you're looking for, let's say, maybe over $1 million, how is the $1 million going to be distributed in terms of implementation? And if it's a 5 years project, how much shall you need for year 1? How much shall you need for year 2? How much shall you need for, let's say, the 3rd or 4th year? Very critical. So it's very, very important that you understand some of these things. Okay, can I get any questions? In case you have any questions, please keep them coming in the chat box. I'll be able to come back and be able to respond to them. Those that are following this from Facebook, make sure that you comment your question in the comment section. I'll be able to come and give you explanation. So if I explain something and you really don't get it, then it's good for you. To all those that are breaking on and off, we are trying to record this. Hopefully, you can be able to get some time and re-listen to this and maybe be able to conceptualize and maybe have any questions that you can ask. Yeah, so I just want to know, how is it going? Any questions, any comments? Just 2 or 3, and then we proceed. It's already 8:10, so we are progressing already an hour past, so we just want to know that we are moving on the right. Okay, somebody says, are these things you're discussing there in the handbook you shared? Yes, some of it is there. Some of it I'll continuously share. What do you do exactly? Well, assessing risks under funding. Okay, explain more on the logistical and results framework. It's moving on well. I would share samples of, hope you will share samples of proposals and the budget. Yes, I will share with you these. You'll be able to see some of them. Either the person who's asking about the logistical framework, you'll also be able to see this. Maybe someone also asked about risks in funding. How can partner information be absorbed into a budget, or how is it handled? Which organization is responsible on the receipts and expenses? So I would like to answer a few here. Some of them I'll just share documents that will give you more information. So what do you actually do while assessing risks under funding? Now, of course, one of the things that you need to look out for is if you want to get funding from a given donor, you need to do a background check of that donor. Like I indicated, it's not about you getting money, because you can get money that can actually become a problem to you. I think we've seen the government of Uganda closing some of the NGOs like Action Aid for a long period of time because of predicted kind of that they're receiving funds intended for maybe opposing tension to the country or for funding the opposition, whatever it is. So you must assess the risks of such funds and understand what exactly is this donor's intention. You get it? So that is very key, and that's why even as you look at the you look at the opportunities that I indicated, you need to understand more beyond what just the donor giving you the money. You get it? And even as you proceed, you also get to understand that there are some donors that will give you, for example, somebody will give you, let's say, $100,000. It looks like it's a lot of money, but when you start paying salaries, when you start paying for fuel, when you start paying for hotels to implement the activity, you realize that this money is very so small. So some organizations intentionally even go ahead to refuse a certain amount of money within a given range. They'll say any donation that is below 20 million, 30 million, we don't accept. And that's why you'll find organizations like the one I work for not asking for funds from anyone and not accepting any funds from anyone. Even if you have, for example, you come and say, me, I have my 20 million, I've retired and I want to improve on the livelihood of children, and you bring that money to us, we may not accept that money. High chances are high that we may not accept the money, because when we look at the risks that is on that onto the money, we may evaluate and think we will not be able to meet the risks. You understand? So it's very, very, very key. How can partner information be absorbed in the budget, or how is it handled? Now, what usually happens, some donors want a single budget for the overall project. So it means that even for the partner, if it is in terms of salaries, they expect that the partner's salaries will also be added part of your maybe salary cost. If it's maybe in terms of administrative expense, so they also expect that will also be covered in the same category. And then there are also some organizations, some donors that want separate budget for some of the different partners. So you submit your budget, then you also submit the budget of the partner. In most cases, we ask the partner to also draw up their budget, as we shall understand more when we come to some examples. So we shall be able to understand more of how to draw budgets and how those can be embedded. And says, how is it under which organization is responsible to report on the receipts and expenses? In most cases, it is the main organization that is applying for the grant. So the partner, for you, you're supervising the partner. So the partner reports to you. So you're like a mini donor to the partner. You understand? So it's very, very key to highlight. Somebody says, could you please throw more light on how M&E information may be like? Now, monitoring and evaluation basically starts from, I indicated, before you even, as you apply for the grant, you're clearly indicating the statistics of what exactly is happening. In terms of, if you're looking at literacy and numeracy, you're able to say maybe 50% of the children in maybe in these schools in Wakiso can't read and write. You understand? And then you're also indicating maybe teachers who are teaching these schools, maybe all of them at certificate level. So all that information is indicated. So you're giving information that we call that baseline evaluation. That evaluation that you do before even you start the implementation is a baseline evaluation that helps you understand some of this information that is on the ground. Then you're also able to give, how are you now going to monitor your progress? So you've given your action plan of what exactly you're going to do. You've given your activities. So how are you going to evaluate? So you say maybe on a monthly basis, we'll be able to visit some of these schools and do an assessment of maybe how the children are progressing in terms of understanding numeracy or literacy, but then also evaluate the teachers as well. You get it? So it's basically trying to explain whatever you're going to do, how are you going to know that you're actually on the right track or not on the right track. So it's very, very key. So maybe you're looking at teachers' attendance, because maybe teachers are not attending. Maybe you're now going to have a register for teachers. Maybe you're going to have an independent supervisor for some of these. So all that information is key, needed when it comes to M&E. Very important. Okay, I think I will share most of the other information when it comes to as we proceed through. Allow me proceed. Okay. We have questions each proposal should answer. Now we've drawn up our proposal. You don't want to submit a proposal and the donor is again coming in to ask you what are some of the maybe what are you going to exactly do, when are you going to do it. You have to make sure that you answer this. So these are some of the questions that each proposal should really answer. So background and context, that one we already talked about it. As you speak about the problem, what is the development challenge, what is the opportunity, and then also, also need to link the current challenge to the donor's plan and objective. I've said that most of these donors will advertise these, let's say, we call them opportunities in newspapers, and the donor has their own objective. So whatever you're going to solve, how is it in line with the donor's plan objective? I'll give you an example of Melinda and Gates Foundation, and their opportunity was around improving health of children in African countries, and our proposal was going to focus more onto the maternal deaths, and you can see it links, because if a healthy child is one who is not dead, so if we are trying to reduce on the maternal, we're trying to get the aspect of health from just the start. So how does that link to the donor plan? And then, of course, the donor also wants to understand some of the political, social, and economic conditions of the beneficiaries or the country that you're operating in. If you're operating in a country like Uganda and there are any key aspects that you want to highlight, for example, social and economic conditions, beneficiaries, so you note, the word beneficiaries is usually the key, the last person who is going to benefit from this grant. For example, if you are speaking about an implementation in schools, where that is to improve the literacy and numeracy of children, then the children are the beneficiaries, those that we call the beneficiaries. If you are speaking about the livelihood of youths, then the youths are the beneficiaries. So when you speak about what is the political, social, and economic conditions of the beneficiaries or country beneficiaries, we are meaning what is their social, economic. By social, how they rate? Maybe some of them lost their parents due to HIV. I'm speaking about the street children. Maybe some of them went to school up to, let's say, P1 or P2. Economic condition, maybe some of them can only afford maybe a single meal. Maybe some of them that are working are only able to, let's say, get maybe $1 in just a day. Very key information for you to highlight to even to the donor. Like I indicate, some of these donors are people who are out of the country, so they really want to understand what exactly is on the ground before they can give you their money. And also, where there's cases of where it is changing, you need to make sure that you indicate that. Then institutional capacity, I already talked about this, similar to institutional capability. How are you positioned to be able to perform this kind of activities that you've highlighted? Why is the organization best to meet this development challenge? Why not another organization? And why, if you're working with partners, what is that added value that you're getting from these partners? Like I indicated, if you can't implement a certain kind of activity, are you adding the partner to be able to, because the partner has a certain kind of specialty or experience that you think would be of value to this grant implementation, then you indicating that. And then you also indicate, of course, what they're going to do and how they complement each other. And then also we have include the aspect of experience, just like the way you apply for a job and include your experience. This experience is very key. If you've done maybe a grant for USAID before, then it's high likely that UK Aid will be interested to give you the grant because they know you've done this before. You have the experience, and maybe their money is not for testing the ground. You already have done this before, and you can actually do the good implementation for them. And then we have the aspects of what results are we currently achieving in the same area. That is very key. You can have, in most cases, NGOs have different grants. So you can have a grant A that is maybe already supporting children around maybe numeracy, and maybe you now want another grant that is actually maybe towards maybe improving youth livelihood. So speak about something that you're doing in line that you think position you as an NGO for some of these funds. Very key. Then a technical approach. In the same way, here we are looking at exactly what are you exactly going to do, what resources you need, what activities and processes. This is now the application, what you're exactly going to do, how the organization initiative meet the challenge. You're saying you're now going to give elements to borders. Are you sure that it's actually going to meet the challenge of accidents? So it's very, very key. And then, of course, also the aspect of how the results contribute to the achievement of the donor objective. Very key. You must have the donor in mind every time you're applying for these fundings. And then the other aspect is the external factors. We talked about those, the activities, the resources that you need. Those are also very key. The staffing, not so much different from institutional capability. Staffing is also very key. We saw that under the institutional capacity. You need to indicate who you exactly think will be able to support you. And then lastly, the aspect of monitoring and evaluation. It's very key as you proceed to highlight the donor. Somebody who asked about what is included in the monitoring and evaluation. This should be able to help you. The time from the achievement of intended results. You want to improve literacy and numeracy for when? Maybe by 2020. That's why you see most of these NGOs have things to do with statistics. What is the performance indicator? What will you look at to say that you've actually achieved your result? Maybe if you're into youth livelihood, as you see more youths being taken up maybe into employment, then you know that the employment levels are actually reducing. Or if you see several youths starting their own businesses, then you see that that will be one of your past performance indicator. Then the data collection and analysis plan, because this information can only be gotten when you've collected the data. So how are you going to collect the data? So that is very important. And then what's the plan for reporting? How are you going to be able to report this information, as well as the accountability measures and the feedback mechanism? You understand? So it is 8:30, and I don't know if some of us are already sleeping. I don't know. I don't have way to monitor that, but I believe you're following. So you just have a simple brain teaser here as we conclude. So we have a brain teaser here. I just want to know somebody who is following. Somebody says 16. How can 8 plus 8 become 4? Somebody says 16. You've actually you've just added 8 plus 8. Can you challenge your mind? Anyone else to try? Get the square root of 8 plus 8. When you square 4, 16 divided by 8. Another one to try. Uh 16 out of 4. Guys, are we following? Or some of us are off? Divide by 4. I can see mathematicians here. Okay. Okay, thanks for the try. Now, how can 8 plus 8 become 4? Now, when you start work at 8 and you work for 8 hours, you get you get to 4, isn't it? So 8 plus 8 can actually get can actually come become 4 if you're speaking about it from the side of hours. So that was just a brain teaser to understand that if we are following. So 8 plus 8 becomes 4. So when you start at 8 and add 8 hours, you'll actually get to 4. So very, very important. I hope you're following. I will not take you into this. At least maybe just to give you some highlights about the exception, so we know what exactly you need to confirm from the donor before signing the agreement. I indicated earlier on that you don't just have to be excited for some of these donations. Some of them, many organizations have gone ahead to pay money. You've spent money, let's say, on certain activities, and the donor says, we didn't agree on those activities, and you have to reimburse a lot of money. Even some staff have lost their jobs. And that is why I indicated earlier on, if there's one thing for you to take away from this, is that a donor agreement or a grants agreement is very, very key document, even as you continue your day-to-day operations as an accountant in an NGO. So it's very, very key for you to understand. So in the donor agreement, some of the things that we need to agree to is the frequency and type of reports and templates. We also need to agree on the project amount. We also need to agree on the project schedule from the donor. Frequency and types of reports are indicated. We have to report. You don't just get these funds and you're not reporting. Donors often want you to share with them a report of how you're progressing, as well as the aspects of the templates. Every donor has their own templates of way reporting. And then we have the project budget amount that has to be very key from the start. And then the payment schedule. Mostly donors will not give you money at once. You have to get this money through different phases. And then we have the aspect of procurement rules and waivers. Most of this money is actually spent through procurement. So the donor will tell you, I gave you some of the waivers to say, for example, when it comes to some assets, they say certain assets, you have to first seek approval from them. Certain assets, you cannot pick them from any other, maybe country, you get it. And then waivers also, as well as the terms of reference of the required evaluations, very, very key. And then the other is the grant start and end date. You need to know when is the grant starting and when it is ending. Very key. And the responsibility of each of the parties. You get it. So that is very important information. So I just want us to go through an exercise here. Moment, I have an exercise here. So can we see this exercise? Can we see, can somebody just comment in the chat box that you can see this? Okay, okay, okay. Does somebody want to unmute and read it for us? If you're seeing it, you can just unmute and read it for us. A volunteer? Okay.
Your scenario.
Yes.
Hello.
Continue reading.
Your scenario. Great Vision. GV in short, that's in brackets, is relatively a small country office in the country of Uganda, has a current portfolio of 3 million active projects. GV has 3 regions, North, Central, and South. So far, GV has been working in Central and South regions, where it has implemented directly through partners projects related to child health, nutrition, and food security. GV country office is located in South region. The North region is pretty remote, being very mountainous. It is a region rich in natural resources. This has, however, created tensions in the past. Currently, clashes are beginning to take place between local communities and the government due to the plan to allow a foreign company to come in and research for oil in an area that is also very fertile and used for agriculture by the local population, most of which lives of subsistence agriculture. Information is fragmentary from the region, but a GV staff who has a cousin in region said he had there have been violent clashes between government police and farmers who were demonstrating against concession. These have also created bias with the local community for any donor-funded organizations, claiming that they are indirectly stealing oil. There were reports of NGO staff being attacked by locals in that region and property stolen from offices. TV would like to be able to reach children in need in the North region as well. This is very much in line with its mission to reach the children that are harder to reach. In fact, recent data indicates that education and health achievements are following sought in the North compared to other regions. A few days ago, a particular donor contacted the country director of GV to let them know about an opportunity with a 3-year, $5 million project opportunity to improve livelihood opportunities in the northern region of Uganda. The donor, however, has been involved in a serious media scandals in regards to human trafficking. Although no formal prosecutions have been conducted, these appear to be rumors. The donor wants to receive reports every week from the organization on progress of the ward. As one of the conditions linked with this project, this will also entail the construction of post-elementary education and vocational training centers in the region. This is also in line with an initial assessment GV has conducted in the region, where among other things, it was noted that education opportunities are very limited, as there are very few schools and children will have to travel far to attend secondary education. It is in its preliminary scoping in the region, GV has identified a number of possible local partners that could support implementation. For this specific award, the donor will require the engagement of at least one local partner. Should GV decide to pursue this opportunity, they have 8 weeks to submit a full proposal. I think that's where it
Okay.
ends.
Yes, that is where it ends. So thank you so much, Jotham, for reading through all this. I believe you've been following. So I would love to hear from different people. If you can unmute and just share with us if you would accept this opportunity or not. Or what are some of your comments about this opportunity? Remember, it's a lot of money that we're getting from this donor, over $5 million project. That even if you press it on your calculator, you might you may not get an answer to some calculators. So what are some of your feelings when you read such an opportunity? If you're part of NGO committee that is trying to look out for funds, or if you're an accountant and they have given you such information and you want to make a decision. So you can use the chat box or you can unmute and share with us.
Hello?
Yes, David?
Yeah, the funding looks appetizing. However, the donor has a reputational risk, which may be associated to our NGO, and then we lose other donors. I think there's a risk with this particular donor. that we need to assess very well.
Okay, great submission. Any other? Maybe in the comment section. Let at least let everyone be able to respond with the yes and maybe why you think either yes or no with your reason. Let's just be participatory. From whatever you've gained from the session, what are your feelings about this opportunity? And what are some of your reasons? I would love to hear in the comment section, please.
Yes, the potential project region seems to be very risky because there are cases of tension and clashes between the community and government, and also the perception that the NGOs in the area are extracting oil or looting oil or the natural resources of the area, puts a danger or poses a danger that may greatly affect the implementation of this project. So
Okay.
geographically, it is not viable, considering the key issues on ground.
Okay, thank you, Jotham. Okay, who else? Francis says risk to staff, would rather put GV at reputation risk. Joab says there's a risk on reputation given that the donor is said to have been involved in human trafficking. Okay, who has a different view? Maybe you can unmute anyone who wants to. Yes, Ruth?
Yeah, I think since GV already knows the risk impact of with associated with this particular donor, they could just in the budget um, put more, maybe ask for more funds that are going to help with mitigating these risks that they already know. And then if the donor allows to meet those costs that are going to come with those risks they have established in the community, then they could go ahead and take it on. Otherwise, for you to just not take it on, because all these are not like they can't be solved. They are all things that you can solve. So if there is financially you can put in the budget, we have to solve this, we have to sort this, we have to make sure we get back in good books with the with community, not thinking we are going to take what belongs to them. Then I think, yeah, you can go with it. It's yes, there is a risk, but you can mitigate those risks if you get the money to do something. I think that's what I think.
Okay, thank you, Ruth. We have different ideas that are really coming from the comment section, which is very good to me. It indicates that you're following very critically, and here you're being able to support the organization make such a decision, because once these amounts of money that are gotten, sometimes you get excited to the amount of money, and you end up failing to even implement a half of the money, and that alone may kill your reputation before that same donor or another donor. I think when it comes to reputation, I think many of us have had, especially when COVID was just coming, we had of many rumors of who was manufacturing the COVID virus. I think some people said it was Bill Gates. We've also had other social media highlights saying that some even the COVID vaccines are actually coming in to do what? To let's say maybe reduce on the population. You get it, eh? So the media scandals, one of the things that since in this they are calling them rumors, I think everything that is a rumor can actually have a confirmation to it. You get it. So the organization can actually go ahead to find out more about this so-called rumor and find out of course, and what one of the things that usually happen is most of these NGOs have like maybe offices in some of these other countries where some of these donors are. So it's good for you to find out more information about this. And I would agree with everyone here that if at all it actually comes and these people are doing human trafficking, then any NGO that is looking forward to, of course, having acceptance in society, then means they will not take up this, because everyone who gets to hear about this, then it affects the reputation also of the NGO. So these are very key points. And then somebody speaks about the current political environments may complicate the reporting lines, and that's where actually comes in. When you see an opportunity like this, even Ruth has indicated part of it, it should be able to feed into how you're going to work with donor. If you think that because of the unsafe or maybe the current political environment, you cannot do the weekly reporting, then you need to make sure that you ask this from the donor. So you agree that, so that's even included in the agreement, because if it is included in the opportunity, then it means that it's a priority to the donor. So that has to be agreed upon. And then one of the other things that I've also seen in your responses is the limitation one of local partner may make implementing this project very costly with lots of tension in the region. The local partner may find it easy to implement restrictions on this. So you might find yourself actually going ahead to partner with the local partner if you think the local partner can actually do a great job, and maybe for you, you do a high level and kind of support or implementation of this project. So it's very, very key for you to look at. And one of the other things that you also need to understand is in most cases, these NGOs actually work in such areas. They work in unstable. That's why you see, even when you used to have COVID, some of us were working during those times, because that is where the humanitarian world, that is their focus. Their focus is in unstable areas. I once got a job to work in Somalia, the times when it was really unstable, the way it is. And on the job, as you're being taken up, they even tell you that you're going to be staying in a UN mission. Every time you're moving, you need to have escort cars. So all these are, so you need to assess the risk and see if these are risks that the NGO can actually bear, because yes, and then also as you also look at the risks, this should also be incorporated within what will you need to actually mitigate some of these risks. So it's very key, and it's very comprehensive for you to really look at this. And as we started looking at this, we saw that one of the things that we've seen is that Great Vision GV is relatively small country office by country. Okay, this is like a small NGO. Now you see it has its current portfolio of 3 million active projects. Are we seeing this? 3 million active projects. And how much money does the donor want to give us? A $5 million project. Can somebody comment on this? What comes to your mind as a finance person, or as somebody who is looking at this?
One, GV's absorption capacity is at stake. If they are to accept this project, considering they have been operating at 3 million, adding 3 to 5, that is $8 million. It might be overwhelmed, and the necessary capacity to handle such huge funds may be lacking, and this may lead to issues of misappropriation or lack of proper accountability, or internal processes or controls to manage such huge funds may not be there to support it. So it's a huge risk to the organization.
Yes, brilliant. So you can see that not only looking at the risks, other key risk areas, just this amount of money, the $5 million project itself, is actually a risk to the organization. They have to make sure that they evaluate to understand that we are only implementing 3 million. Now we are getting a 5 million. I think we've had cases where it's also not good for an NGO to depend on a single donor, to be a single donor oriented. And also for a single donor to have over, let's say maybe over 60% of the budget for that NGO. Because at the end of the day, if that donor pulls out, it means that the organization will have to go back several kind of years. You get it? So it's very critical that even as we think about the 5 million, because remember, if you only have 2 vehicles, the 2 vehicles are not the ones that are going to implement the 5 million. If you have a team of 5, of let's say 10 staff, the 10 staff are not the ones that are going to implement the $5 million project. So as an organization, you have to sit down critically and you try to go through this and understand if this is something that worth taking up. And that's why sometimes when you can bring in partners, you can say that of this budget, we are actually going to implement the $2 million, and for the 3 million, we have another maybe local partner on the ground. You get it? So it's very, very critical. So this, for you to get a better decision, it's good to read line by line and reflect some of these things. You get it? Very critical. Because they're saying GV has 3 regions, North, Central, and South so far. GV has been working in Central and South regions where it has implemented directly and through partners, projects related to child health, nutrition, and food security. So you can see that their focus has mainly been on Central and South. That's where they have mostly the experience. And their country office is located in the South region. Now, the North is pretty remote, being very mountainous. It's a region rich in natural resources. This has, however, created tension in the past. Currently, clashes are beginning to take place between local communities and the government due to the plan to allow a foreign company to come in and search for oil in that area. I think this seems to be a similar story. That is also very fertile and also used for agriculture by local population, most of which live of subsistence agriculture. Information is fragmentary from the region, but a GV staff who has a cousin in the region said he heard that there has been violent clashes between government police and farmers who are demonstrating against the concession. So it's also good for you to critically look through this and see, can I be able to override these kind of risks? Because if there are already clashes between government and farmers, how are you going to bring farmers together to be able to work on a project when there's already disagreement? So it could be something that you may consider to informing maybe the donor about of your incapacity right now, but maybe capacity later on. You get it? Then they are also saying they have also created bias with local community for donor-funded organisms claiming that they are indirectly stealing oils. There are reports of NGO staff being attacked by locals. So how are your staff safe in such an area? Because at the end of the day, you don't want just because to be excited about the money. Your mind should also be a part of, should also go to the employees that you're going to use to implement such a project. Because if they are not safe, then it means you're not safe. So very, very key. So I would interest you to be able to read through this and reflect on this, and maybe if there's anything different from what you've shared today that you feel you can share in the next class, that will also be able to support us even as we continue to learn to make the decision. So your takeaway from this class should be that not every grant should actually be taken up. And for any grant to be taken up, there should be a process from us planning, for us securing the funds, to us managing the funds. All that has to be taken into consideration. So thank you so much for the comments that have been coming in the comment section. These are really brilliant ideas, but like I indicated, your decision should not be on just a single line that you're seeing in this description. Yours should be to conceptualize, highlight the different risks, and see which risks can actually be mitigated, and see if at all, based on your risk assessment, if this can actually, we can continue with this opportunity or we may not continue with the opportunity. So thank you so much to all those that even came through to give an audio view on their on this proposal. So as we end, we have about 7 minutes. We'll be closing. So I want to, of course, again, thank you for following through our discussion from wherever we started. And I believe that this session is trying to give you some insights into what is ahead of us, understand more of how NGOs work and how they get their money. So these are some of the complications that come with some of this money. So not every money should really be taken up. So I just want to use this remaining minutes to hear from you about today's session. What are your feelings about today's session based on your expectations? You can also indicate what you've learned from the session. At least I expect everyone to share something as we close in the chat box. And then also, lastly, you can also indicate ways you think we can improve this. For you to note, I'm going to share with you these slides. To those that kept on getting on and off, I'm going to share these slides with you. But then also, we also have the recording for this session, which I will share with you specifically. So you at least you can have a replay wherever you can. We'll be having these sessions at the same time as we have we've done it for today. So I believe that this is important. So just in the comment section, let me hear from you about today's session. What are your takeaways from the session? And in case there's anything that you feel you're not comfortable with, or you think that you can do better, please indicate it. I would love to hear from you. Okay, as the comments come in, I indicated you don't need to have NGO background to join this course. Like I indicated earlier on, basically the grants and financial management for NGO training is basically to give you an overview of how different NGOs get their money, manage it, report to the donors. You get it. And what is your play as an accountant in that process? And this training is intended to give you that skill. If you're already working there, you'll be able to learn more of how you can improve your current work. To those that are not working, maybe you're not working for an NGO or you're totally not working, these sessions will be able to give you confidence to actually apply for some of these jobs. And also this information would help you once you actually get there. And not only that, today prepare, and the opportunity will actually find you prepared. So you just learning this, you might maybe at one point in time become a consultant who will be able to support different NGOs in terms of their finances, but also make decisions in regards to some of these grants. So very important for you to note that the information you're getting here is about supporting you to achieve that objective that you really have. So thank you to the comments that are coming through. Yes, then you're glad to learn about NGOs, and pretty soon you cross. Yeah, it's very possible to actually cross the other side. Those that followed in from the first session, I told you that I was working in the private sector and I crossed to the NGO world. And one of the things that helped me was to acquire an understanding of how NGOs run. Even when you're on the panel, you're not going to speak about sales, you're not going to speak about accounts receivables. You get it. Things that you think are not related to NGOs, those are things that you'll be able to leave out. You get, even when you're speaking about donor funds, you're not going to bring in things with sales revenue because the NGOs don't really sell. they get their money from grants, from awards. You get it. So very, very, very key. So thanks all those that are commenting with their takeaways. Please make sure that you comment with your takeaway. And yeah, also tell me, how was the session? How did you find the session? You may not share about your takeaways. Maybe those you need to first think about them. But how did you find the session in a general? Okay, Dave, thanks for the insightful discussion. Well resourceful. Yeah, that is good to hear that this is insightful for you. Thank you, David. Okay, Ruth, it's an eye-opening session. Thank you. Joab says this is an insightful topic and for sure opened me my mind. Nice experience and very good resource. Okay, the session has been really to my expectations. Looking forward to more. Okay, very good feedback, and I want to say thank you so much to all those that have really put in time to come and learn. I know some of you are learning from your homes, and the learning environment is not really good. So I believe that your time has been worthy it here. So we look out for more sessions like this that help you. At the end of this is just day one. At the end of this, you're going to know how budgets are drawn. You're going to know how proposals might look like. You're going to know how to manage funds. You're going to know what an accountant does in NPO. So I look forward to sharing more with you. So thank you so much. It's exactly 9. So I would want to end the session here. And somebody says poor network, the network was poor. The recording will be available, so you can be able to access this from any place that has a good network. So I want to say that have the best in your night. Let's continue the conversation on the WhatsApp group. Yeah, let's continue the conversation there, and then let's see how we can proceed. So thank you so much to everyone. Brazil, Sylvia, Judith, thanks everyone. Isa, thank you so much. Stephen, and everyone, Joab, Ruth, David. Yeah, the one using the Redmi, Watua. Thanks everyone, and see you next time. So you're free to get off the call and attend to your other responsibilities.